Royal Flat Comrades, good night. Come on. Right beside it. Comrades, I was tasked with the job of bringing the Central Manchester team to victory. And I intend to do just that. I intend to do just that. Comrades, we must win. We have to win. And we're going to win. And in order for us to win, there are little things, a few little things we need to sort out. First and foremost, we need to get out all the votes. So all who did bets and decide to them never vote 2020, we need to find them and bring them out. I was at a function last night, Chamber of Commerce function in Mandeville, and such lady was on the program to bring greetings. And believe you me, such lady missed her chance to bring the greetings and didn't show up without an apology, and then we see her rolling in with Bogard. Don't know where they're coming from, not drawing any conclusion. Respect the people. Respect the people. We know you're afraid to share stage with the next member of parliament. You're scared to share stage with them, but respect the people. All right? Comrades, I can't think of one government entity that is running without corruption. Not one. I hear the Prime Minister talk about plans they have for Manchester. I'm going to make the candidate touch on that. I'm not going to touch on it. Because all they're doing is making a bag of promises and nothing behind it. Comrades, time come for we take back this government. Time come for we decide, say, enough is enough. Dog now go have no supper for eat, you know, if we allow them to win back, you know. So no nobody tell about if they win back, dog eat with supper. Because we not go have no supper. The dog go eat it. And then the dog, them go eat the dog. No matter what they come with. We notice every time PNP make 2 or 3 strides forward, they come with some little things to try the railway. We need to keep focus. Keep focus, comrade, and we will be victorious if and whenever them call it. So no make nobody fool you, no make nobody get in and no mix up. Yeah? We're going to hold this train. We have been holding this train long enough. Time come now for we vote them out. What I said? Time come now. The world is love. The world is always love.
To a man who is no stranger to everybody, and I make sure that he is the second term mayor of Mandeville. But 25 years as the councillor for Royal Flat, the accountant, the preacher, the multifaceted, seeing his worship the mayor of Mandeville, make way for councillor Donovan Mitchell of Royal Flat. Last night we were at the Chamber of Commerce banquet.
The leader of the opposition has asked me to apologize for him. He has to attend another event. Allow me to acknowledge Ms. Rhoda Moy Crawford, the Member of Parliament for Central Manchester, and accompanying her is the Member of Parliament for Northwest Manchester, Mr. Michael Phillips, and also the Member of Parliament for East Kingston and Port Royal, Mr. Philip Paulwell. I'm not sure there are other members of the House of Representatives here. I haven't seen them, but if you are, I'm acknowledging you. His Worship the Mayor, Councillor Donovan Mitchell. Where is His Worship? But allow me to acknowledge the President of the Chamber of Commerce and his beautiful wife, Omar Fennell and Mrs. Fennell, who have been such a wonderful host to me for the few minutes I've been at the table. I feel like I know so much about you. You're from Spanish Town, you like St. Jago High, you found a beautiful woman in Manchester, and you have decided to start business here. Allow me as well to acknowledge the other executive members of the Manchester Chamber of Commerce and the general business community of Manchester who are gathered here today. And I must especially acknowledge Mr. Kenneth Black, you will appreciate when I say that Mr. Black very graciously invited me to break ground for this lovely premises in which we are today. And I know that, I know that I considered it a particular privilege that you bestowed upon me, that you would have invited me to come and break ground here. And I must say, I'm actually very pleased with how it has turned out. It's looking very well, and I'm hopeful that I will be invited to open the building when it is complete.
Comrades, I want to pick up the one and only Don I know. Stadium. Within 5 minutes, it was on all the news. And people say, how may I become Mr. Black? But if the Prime Minister of Jamaica can come to Mandeville and pick him up.
Allow me to also acknowledge the businesses that have been awarded here today and acknowledged. And, you know, I listened to Captain O'Main Morgan, and he put me in the mind of Merrick Needham. I don't know how many of you remember Merrick Needham. Merrick Needham was one of Jamaica's foremost orators and someone who understood protocol very, very, very well. So commendations, O'Main. You know, we don't do too much oratory these days. We tend to want to dismiss it as being too British. But it is an important skill to be able to deliver presentations with mastery of the language. And I think O'Main has done that very well. Captain, you have done that very well. Congratulations. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, it is indeed my great pleasure to be with you. On my way here, I had a little mishap, which required me to change vehicles. So I was not going to be hindered any at all by any unplanned occurrence, because it was absolutely important for me to be here with you this evening.
Apart from campaign, I want to ask the Prime Minister one question. You told us that you had a motor vehicle problem. If you are the Prime Minister of this country, coming to Mandeville to talk to the people, and you have a motor vehicle problem that you were late for almost 3 hours, what can we say about you? There's no way you could have a motor vehicle problem and delay us for 3 hours. But I will tell you why you come that time. I know, Roland Comrades, I said I will take you to my ways that I sin not with my tongue, but I will tell the truth. I do business with no other problems. But I know, and he knows, that he had made a statement that he doesn't want to be in a room when I am speaking. That's the reason why he come that time. But I have news for you.
I don't do too many events in Manchester. And I want the people of Manchester to know that you are an important parish for me and for the government. And therefore, I have a message that I'm sure that you will find pleasing, particularly for the people of Manchester. So,
you know, I felt disrespected last night. Because even after the function is going on, he got up and started to walk around the room, shaking people's hand and saying what they want and talking to them, not even paying attention to what was going on in the room. That is disrespectful and no respect for the people of Manchester.
and thus, as a part of the broader effort to modernize our public sector and to boost productivity, we have launched the Streamlining Processes for Efficiency and Economic Development, otherwise called SPEED, not to be confused with DOGE. And Minister Audrey Marks have appointed a minister to actually focus on that. And her mandate is to undertake comprehensive review of Jamaica's governance arrangement, systems and processes, and to implement targeted reforms across the whole of government that will eliminate inefficiencies, reduce bureaucracy, and enhance the ease and speed of doing business. This strategic effort signifies our commitment to creating an environment in which businesses can flourish. You know, when Mr. Black was doing this building here, he came upon some bureaucratic hurdles. And it's not just Mr. Black alone. I'm sure many of the business people here, you come upon bureaucratic hurdles, particularly in permitting and approvals. Well, I'm here to tell you, and I'm glad I'm saying this when the mayor is here, our parish councils will be the first target of the SPEED initiative. They are absolutely important to the local economy in how fast they facilitate business and investment. And we will ensure that our parish councils move in concert with business to ensure that businesses that are ready to invest are not inhibited and hampered.
I hear you say last night that the municipal corporations are holding up subdivisions and building plans and all of that. Lie you again. Most time I can tell you that is NEPA, Water Commission, NWA. You are the minister with responsibility for those agencies. We are the Manchester Municipal Corporation. We are not boasting a 93% turnaround for 90 days for any plans that come to the council. You can fool some people sometimes. You can't fool all the people all the while.
Building out of park and recreational spaces for our people. Yes, we have done this, and I give credit. I'm not averse to giving credit. I give credit to P.J. Pattison when he had a vision for Emancipation Park. Yes. And under my administration, in St. James, in Montego Bay, we have built the Harmony Park. Yes? And in the 15th parish of Portmore to be, in a few months, we will open the Resilient Park. And I had announced in Parliament that in this parish, the NHT will undertake the construction of a similar parish park for Manchester, but it will be in the curtilage of Mandeville. We are looking at Brooks Park. But if the Chamber of Commerce or any other stakeholders have any other idea, it's still in the embryonic stage, so now is the time to make your views known. And what we have decided to do is that for all our parks, we will name them symbolically to honor what I call national ethos. So emancipation, something important in our history. Harmony, an important ethos. Resilience, an important ethos. I wonder what we should call the park in Mandeville. What about industry? Innovation, solidarity. All kinds of names that could reflect something of our national ethos. So I wanted to make this announcement here that Mandeville will have its parish park that will be equal or better than the ones that we have built before.
I hear you come up with a big plan about a park in Mandeville. Yes, Mandeville no want no park, we are Cecil Tartan Park. And we will not disrespect Cecil Tartan, who labor in this parish, who work with it, and nobody come and remove that. I hear them talking about park in Mandeville. S.E. Brooks, whatever labor right on PNP and no P, left Brooks Park for the people of Manchester and no Andrew Holness. None of them cannot come here and remove what is here. You have to go somewhere else. And if there's anybody you want to help, since you're not doing the mathematics and people not advising you properly, the Brooks Park is situated in northwest Manchester. It is not in central Manchester. If you really want to do something for Manchester and for Mandeville, you will tell this man Mackenzie said, Donovan said, the plans we had for the Mandeville market that he has thrown away and put it in a shell and put it in filtrating, pick it up, dig it up, and make a talk about Mandeville town. We have a plan. And the only one PNP win. And PNP name must win.
We must focus on people. Unemployment is at a record low of 3.5%. Record low. Again, some people want to scoff at that and pretend as if there wasn't a period of time in Jamaica when unemployment was double digit. 10 years ago, unemployment was above 13%. And for young people, it was as high as 20%. It's not the same Jamaica today as it was 10 years ago.
You're talking about unemployment is 3.5%. Did you know or do you know how they calculate employment rate? If a man wash a car for 3 hours out the road is employed. You tell me now if nothing can go so.
In fact, and I'm sure my friends Philip and Mikhail can attest to it, that the business community has been saying, you know, know, we have a labor problem, you know. We can't find enough skilled labor. And I'm sure there are business people in here who are facing that same challenge. Why, we have a skill shortage. One young business person called me and said, listen, Prime Minister, I want to bring in some people to work here, but if I can't get them to come, well, I will just send the operations to Mexico. I want you to listen to that statement carefully. Labor, or rather the lack of skilled labor, has become a constraint on growth. 10 years ago, that was not the problem we had. So certainly, if the economy can yam, the economy is providing work. But we have a different problem now. Because of the stability of the economy and businesses see a runway to invest, they are looking to expand their operations, but they need skilled labor to be able to complement the availability of capital and the stability of the fiscal environment. And so we are investing heavily in trying to ensure that the marginal labor that we have is brought into the labor force, but with the appropriate skills, knowledge, and attitude. So with heart, we are literally paying people to learn. Yes, there are so many skills training programs that we pay you to go and learn. Begging you to come out and learn. I was in Brownstown recently, and I was very pleased to see the Heart team on the sidewalk with a little tent, encouraging youngsters, say, come and sign up for the program. Because Jamaica is at that point where the environment for business is good. But we need more skilled labor. Now, I'm the first to tell you that, as I've heard the opposition point out, that there is still a high level of underemployment in the economy. In other words, there are persons who are involved in economic activities that if they were to get a higher level of skill, they could probably find a higher paying economic engagement. And the question is, how do we facilitate people moving from low value engagement to higher value engagement? And that is what Heart is tasked to do now. We have done an amazing job in reducing taxes. We have increased the income tax threshold. When we came to office, the threshold was $5,900 and $592,800. It is now $1.7 million. Next month, it will be 1.8.
You have increased minimum wage from $15,000 to $16,000. I'm not a mathematician, so if me wrong, I'm going to tell me. It will cost me, or cost a teacher, or cost a good civil servant an additional $4,000 per month to pay that helper. Based on how you have moved the threshold, each person will get $2,000. I don't go to Jamal, but every here people. If I have to spend 4, if I'm getting 2, 1, 2, now 2 here. If I'm getting $2,000 and I have to spend $4,000, what happened to me? It is costing me $2,000 more to pay those people. You know what we have, comrades? People are going to take out washing machine. People are going to clean their house for themselves. And many helpers and many people that we have today will be out of job. I want you to consider it. No, Lord, because them say they're going to increase it by $1,000, because who will it probably out a job? But comrades, I am not the one to bring this story tonight. The man with the story, the man with the plan, our campaign manager nationally. You say I don't touch what I'm doing next because I'm waiting until the big conference.
This leads to the question of productivity. Another area of our economic thought that we need to change. Jamaica is highly focused on inflation. Inflation is the big issue for Jamaicans because it impacts our cost of living. It's what you see when you go to the supermarket. But the real variable is productivity. And if we were to increase our productivity, we would be able to mitigate inflation. And so, a part of the investment in training and upskilling is about getting Jamaicans to be more productive. And many of you are business people, and you will immediately see what I'm saying. If you were able to reduce the marginal cost of your production, to reduce your average cost of production by virtue of increasing your output, the price at which you sell your goods would decrease. So, increasing productivity is a national objective now. And I want to say here with great clarity that this administration will be laser focused on increasing the productivity of the Jamaican business environment.
So don't come with a cheap talk like y'all vote.
And I know a lot of people are disappointed. And I know a lot of people don't like when I speak this way. Because it challenges their perspective and their confirmation bias. But we have to confront these things if we're going to move forward in the next step and pivot. In my budget presentation, I had the pleasure of reminding everyone that it was the 8th consecutive budget we have presented with no new taxes and the 10th consecutive budget with no net new taxes whatsoever. This is unprecedented in Jamaica, and it has been a part of our concerted effort to create a predictable investment climate, but moreover, to ease the burden on individuals and businesses and to encourage economic activities. And
if them think them's the road, if them think them's the school build, because I am committed, first of all, to take Belfield High School off the system. And I want to name it the Caswell Burton High School. I won't say anything more yet. And we're not done yet. Because we're going to be expanding down where Comrade Black is. We're going to put up more building down there. That when you walk in a Mandeville town and you go up on Greenville Street, you think of Miami you're there, and you think of California you're there. Because we know the people in that market know how to build a nation, know how to build a town, know how to build a people. So don't come with a cheap talk like y'all vote.
as your Prime Minister, as a politician for 27 years, treating with this issue of immediate gratification requires a special skill, especially in a competitive democracy where your psychological disposition for immediate gratification can be hijacked and used for political gain by simply making a promise that when we win, or if you vote for me, I'm going to give you heaven. I'm going to fix every road, feed every child in school, remove tax from every business. I'm going to give every young person a subsidy for a deposit on a home. There are some other ones. I don't remember all of them. And it sounds good, and even persons in this room say, yes, I like that. And indeed, that has been the nature of our politics. But something has happened in Jamaica in 2025. It may have escaped you. You may not have recognized it. But something has changed in Jamaica. For the first time, promises that were made by politicians were costed. A price was put on it. Because for too long in our economic history, and indeed our social history and in the development of the country, our electorate has never really asked our politicians to price or cost the promises that they make. Because we want the satisfaction now, we accept anything that is told to us. But in this last budget, a price was placed on every promise that was made. And it was not just in the budget, but there is an institutional change that has happened in our country, and I'm certain it has passed most of the persons here. But Jamaica now has something called a fiscal commission. How many of you heard about that? It means that the days of impractical promises that would easily catch the eye of the unsuspecting voter, the days of politicians being able to ride on the psychological need for immediate gratification by making empty promises, those days are over. By the clap, I can tell that there are some people who want those days to continue. But an important part of the transformation of Jamaica is the institution of the Fiscal Commission. So what the Fiscal Commission does, its role is to ensure that governments follow the fiscal rules that are in place, meaning we can't run a deficit more than a certain percentage of GDP. We have to stick to our commitments to reducing borrowing. So the Fiscal Commission essentially polices what the government will spend on. But it also has the ability to price or cost any other proposed spending either by the government or the opposition. So there is an independent body that could very well say what is being proposed doesn't make sense. In our last budget, several proposals were made, and the Minister of Finance costed it and showed that those promises didn't make sense. Couldn't be financed. Would wreck the budget. I'm speaking to an audience of business people. And therefore, I'm certain that you immediately appreciate the point that I'm making. The development of this country cannot be made on empty promises. You can't come to Parliament and make promises, and then when tackled, you get up and say, it was not my intention that these would be implemented. In effect, empty promise. Jamaica has changed. For the first time, promises were costed. The public can see what promises make sense and what does not make sense.
And we're not done yet, because we are going to be expanding down where Comrade Black is. We're going to put up more buildings down there, that when you walk in a Mandeville town and you go up on Greenville Street, you think of Miami you're there, and you think of California you're there, because we know the people in that market know how to build a nation, know how to build a town, know how to build a people. So don't come with your cheap talk like y'all vote.
The government has also taken a new measure to incentivize and support capital investments in the productive sector. We have announced accelerated capital allowances for investments in productive assets, such as industrial and commercial buildings, plants and machinery, and IT equipment undertaken between the 1st of January 2025 to the 31st of December 2026. Pay close attention to this one. The benefits are significant. As an example, before the accelerated capital allowances were introduced, 28% of eligible expenditure incurred on concrete industrial buildings could be written off for tax purposes in the first 2 years, with 4% per year thereafter. With this new accelerated allowance, 66% can be written off over the same 2-year period and 5.5% per year thereafter. Essentially, what we are saying to the private sector is, now is the time to retool and invest in your business. If you have investment plans on the table for 3 to 5 years down the road, we are saying to you, bring them forward, and the government will support your plans, and we are giving you a big incentive to do so. If you have investments, take advantage of the accelerated capital allowance. And we are also reducing the burdens on the MSMEs. In the budget, we announced that we are increasing the annual turnover threshold for the mandatory GCT registration from 10 million to 15 million. So small businesses whose annual sales are below this threshold will no longer have the burden of filing GCT returns. You know, we reduce the transfer tax from 5% to 2%. And that has just created an explosion in the real estate market. We increased the pension relief and age relief from 80% from 80,000 per month, rather, 80,000 per year to 250,000 per year. And in the next budget, that will go to 350,000. We have increased the turnover threshold required for registration to pay GCT from 3 million to 10 million. And we are now increasing that to a further 15 million. Every business person inside here who is at that level would be very happy. So, you know, we recognize that we must make government less burdensome for the people. And that's why at every opportunity we get, once it is fiscally responsible to do so, we reduce taxes. Well, before we made any commitments, we costed it. And so now I'm pleased to say that we can't take off the GCT, but here's what we can do. We're cutting the GCT in half, more than that. So we're moving from 15% to 7% GCT on electricity. I know some people, but important that it be said that this government doesn't make empty, fiscally irresponsible promises. It is an important step for the development of our country because for too long, our electorate has been misled. And our political economy has focused on the wrong things. For the first time, you have a government that has delivered 10 budgets of stability. And when I say this, I know it is hurtful to some people because they want to deny it. They want to dismiss it. They want to say, "Sure, stability can't yam." Well, Jamaica today is the most resilient it has been to shocks than at any time before in its history. And I just want to, give you some facts. It took us 17 years to recover from the oil price shocks and the socialist experiments of the PNP in the 1970s. 17 years. It took us 7 years to recover the lost GDP from the financial sector meltdown and the FinSac crisis in the mid-1990s. And it took us 30 years to get the debt back down to pre-FinSac levels. 30 years. It took us 11 years to recover from the global financial crisis that hit us in 2008. But it only took us 3 years to bounce back strongly from the COVID-19 pandemic, the supply shock chain, and the overlapping geopolitical crises, which, when you put them collectively, these were the worst shocks that Jamaica has experienced in 100 years. I want you to just think about it, that during the worst shock that we have experienced, not one public sector worker was laid off. Think about that. In Europe, people were laid off, salaries were cut. Right here in the Caribbean, people were furloughed. It didn't happen in Jamaica. We have finally conquered the challenges of macroeconomic instability and excessive debt, which have plagued us for decades. The next challenge that we have to conquer is growth. We have to significantly accelerate our growth rate from 1 to 2% to 4 to 5%. And of course, my friends, pursuing growth does not mean run with it. We have presented budgets to you without ever running with anything. That is a significant transformation in Jamaica. But more than that, we are presenting a budget in an election year, and it is a balanced budget. A budget filled with, as some commentators call it, goodies. We call it give-backs. And we were able to do that without running a deficit or without putting on any new taxes. So as I reiterated in my recent budget presentation, my government remains steadfast in its commitment to maintaining both a balanced budget and introducing no new taxes. Under the fiscal rules, we have the flexibility to run a fiscal deficit of up to 0.3% of GDP. Despite this being a special year, we decided that we will present a balanced budget with no fiscal deficit. This decision underscores our resolve to maintain macroeconomic stability and ensure that we achieve our 60% debt to GDP target for 2027-2028. Let me explain how the debt to GDP ratio can yam. In other words, how it can be a game changer for Jamaica. Because sometimes, it's not clearly understood why we are pursuing this path. Our sovereign credit rating, meaning how the global financial markets view Jamaica as a going concern, as a business. Our sovereign credit rating is now BB minus, double B minus, which is just 3 notches below investment grade, and investment grade would be triple B minus. Just to put that in context, our credit rating is higher than the credit rating of Barbados. Coming from being considered the financial basket case of the Caribbean. The size of the global bond market is just over 60 trillion US dollars. Over 90% of this market is restricted to investment grade bonds only. I wonder if you see this point. It means that today, no matter how much the global market may love Jamaica, 90% of the global pool of capital is, by their risk mandate, restricted from investing in Jamaica. So, Jamaica could become the home for far greater foreign investments than we are getting now if our ratings improved. People would see Jamaica as investment grade risk. So once Jamaica achieves investment grade status, the global pool of capital available to Jamaica multiplies 9-fold. Also, Jamaica's risk profile decreases significantly, which means that the cost of capital declines. Ultimately, that means lower interest rates for all of you who have business here. Business people should be invested in ensuring that Jamaica remains on this very stable and solid fiscal path. Ultimately, that means that everybody in the economy will benefit. This would be a fundamental transformation of the economy. So businessmen like Mr. Black, who I'm certain you had to do some borrowing for this building here, the interest rates that you would face would be significantly lower. But more than that, businesses and business opportunities which now seem infeasible suddenly become investment worthy because the cost of capital has gone down. And that is the kind of strategic moves that we have been making, which is why you have to focus on the economy and keeping that economy in the forefront of your political decisions. Because if you depart from that in any way, you can rest assured that you have a government that is committed to the economy. But we also recognize that fiscal discipline alone is not going to be sufficient. We must now grow the economy. And we have said that we're going to use the Aspire model. The S in Aspire is for safety and security.
I don't know your comment. They never take the scene now because I'm feeling hot and I don't want to say what I don't want to say. I see them put up a graph in Parliament, and I don't know if you have looked at it carefully. The graph that describes the crime rate in Jamaica or the falling rate, and it goes in about 2024. But if I believe and if I remember well, when I looked at the chart, the best years for crime in Jamaica was, I think it was 2014 or 2013. They still don't reach that number yet. So there's nothing to boast about. Until they reach that number, then you can talk to me about crime.
Madam Speaker, I want to draw your attention to the graph being displayed, or about to be displayed. It is the same graph that I believe the leader of the opposition displayed. But he had a different interpretation of the statistics. Let me offer mine. Let us recall that the drop in murders from 2009 to 2014, which you see as the first arrow, for which the opposition seeks to take credit, was a direct result of the state of public emergency launched in May 2010 by the Jamaica Labour Party administration. Which dismantled and scattered the gangs and created a 21% drop in murders in 2011. 21% drop in murders in 2011. No other police action has resulted in any such drop. In 2011, murders stabilized, as you can see, and in 2012 stabilized. This created a respite where targeted police operations against gangs and violence producers resulted in 2024 having the lowest number of murders in the last 20 years. So 2014 was the lowest number of murders, and that is under the PNP in the last 20 years. But it's not as a result of the PNP's action. It is as a result of the 2010 state of public emergency, which gave you a 21% reduction. Then a slight carry-on reduction in 2012. Madam Speaker, I still posit that if the opposition then had supported the government in extending the state of public emergency, the fall in murders would have been even greater. So in 2013, there was a little spike in murders. And in 2014, in mid-2014, the PNP introduced the Unite for Change, an ostensible crime-fighting strategy that leaned heavily on social interventions. There was also a change of police commissioners and an apparent change in crime-fighting strategy. By 2015, murders began to rise again under the PNP, even with the much-touted Unite for Change initiative in full effect. The truth, Madam Speaker, is that the PNP shifted focus from targeted operations against gangs and gang leaders and allowed them space to regroup. The number of gangs in the country increased from 200 in 2010 to 350 by 2016. And we saw the impact of this from 2015 through 2017. That is why my administration decided to take decisive actions. We recognize the emergency threat organized criminal enterprises and violence producers pose to specific communities and the country generally. We responded with zones of special operations and states of public emergencies to halt the persistent spiral in murders from 2015 to 2017. The SOEs and zones of special operations were successful in taking back communities from gangs, displacing criminals, disrupting their operations, and limiting their space and opportunity to commit crimes. That's what the SOEs do. This resulted, Madam Speaker, in a 22% reduction in murders in 2018 and a leveling off between 2019 and 2020. The success of the SOEs and the ZOZOs came with the support of the opposition at the time. And I here must give credit to the former leader of the opposition, the Honorable Dr. Peter Phillips, who understood their necessity and supported their extensions. However, since the change in leadership in the opposition in 2020, we have not been able to use the SOEs to full effect. We have used them, but not to full effect. And we saw a 10% spike in murders in 2021. This could have been prevented and lives saved if narrow political interests parading as protecting rights did not blind the current opposition leader to protecting the right to life of the victims of murder by supporting extensions of the SOE. Madam Speaker, in parallel with emergency measures, this administration in 2018 embarked on an ambitious plan to indigenously reform and reorganize the JCF under the direction of a new commissioner, Major General Anthony Anderson, to include development of leadership, recruitment and training of personnel, and the acquisition of material and technology. It was never the intention of the government to rely solely on emergency measures. We used emergency measures to treat with the crime situation, which was over and above the existing capacity of regular law enforcement at the time. And we used the space and attenuation it created to build the capacity of the security forces. Therefore, in 2022, we began to realize the impact of the reforms and capability building investments in the JCF. With improved intelligence gathering, better investigative and crime-solving capabilities, and a return to more targeted and focused strategies on gangs and violence producers, during this period, we saw the interdiction and prosecution of several gangs. Now, a lot of people didn't understand that. that while the opposition and other, talking heads and so forth were criticizing the government over SOEs, we were quietly taking down the gangs. We brought about 4 major gangs through the court system using the anti-gang legislation, which had never been used before it was passed. We didn't say anything about it. Before, it was never used when it was passed. Never used. Never used. Right? And we now have how many on trial? And we have 19 cases now coming up. So we were, we were being criticized, and everybody wants to claim and criticize the government and all making all kinds of claims. Well, we were strategic, doing what we were doing, because we know what the real problem was. And we know that our investment was going to pay off. And then you began to see the impact of better investigations. Several really terrible atrocities and crimes were committed. And within weeks and months, the member from East Kingston and Port Royal can attest to that. Very effective investigations. So that is as a direct result of government strategy and investment and improvement. So while the opposition and other talking heads were busy criticizing government strategy and policy, we were quietly doing what we know needs to be done. So, Madam Speaker, today we can say that year to date, murders are at their lowest level in 25 years. But I still lament that had we the support of the opposition in the use of SOEs, the fall in murders would have been even greater. So let me be clear. The PNP, under this leader of the opposition, can take no credit for the reduction in murders. They have done everything possible to obstruct the government. Everything possible to obstruct the government, and now want to stand up and claim credit.
They are benevolent. You benevolent. You benevolent. Your party generating violence here.
Madam Speaker, we will continue to invest in our security forces and support the transformation of the JCF into a modern, professional, and technology-driven security force. We will continue to target gangs, which account for 70% of murders in the country. If we focus on eliminating gangs, we can reduce our murder rate to below the regional average of 15 per 100,000. And I'm pleased to announce, Madam Speaker, that police intelligence now estimates, listen to this one, police intelligence now estimates that there are fewer than 100 active gangs in Jamaica since the beginning of the year, coming from 350. Many have been dismantled or have gone dormant. They are laying low because they know they are being hunted relentlessly by the security forces. Madam Speaker, this administration takes national security seriously, and through the National Security Council, something that we have instituted in a consistent way, we have been able to coordinate, enhance, and strengthen the work and collaborative efforts of various security forces to yield greater synergies from our security forces. And again, I would like to acknowledge and thank, but most importantly, encourage the members of our security forces. Through their respective heads, the Chief of Defense Staff of the JDF Vice Admiral Antoinette Weems Gorman, CD, Commissioner of Police Dr. Kevin Blake, CD, Director General of MOCA, Colonel Desmond Edwards, and Commissioner of Customs Dr. Velma Ricketts Walker, CD. Continue with your concerted effort to make Jamaica safe. Together, we will eliminate the gangs and bring peace to our country.
As I entered the hall, the deputy superintendent who greeted me, and I make it a point of duty to speak with the ground commanders, because very important that they are motivated and that they understand the mission. He pointed out to me that you are seeing a 65% decline. I hope I got the number correct. 65%. Is that correct? Where is the SP? 64. Well, we round it up. That's fantastic. A few months ago, that was not the cry. A few months ago, citizens were worried. Businesses were worried. But the investments that we have made in men and women and material, in doctrine, in leadership, we are transforming the JCF. And I'm very pleased to see you sitting right here in the front row at the Chamber of Commerce's award ceremony. Very important that the police is not seen as an adjunct, an auxiliary, but is central to the development of the community. And I want to commend the men and women of the police force and the military who support them here in Manchester for the amazing work that they have done. Be assured that as Prime Minister, I stand 100% behind the JCF. So in murders, we saw a decline by 9% in 2023. People scoffed at it. In 2024, we saw a decline of 19%. And some people said, well, maybe this is just a flash in the pan. And year to date, we are seeing a 35% decline. I know I'm seeing everybody want to come and take credit for it. That was because of the strategic investments and the strategic decisions that were made by the administration as it relates to treating with the matter of crime. It was never a flip of the switch strategy. It can't be dealt with like that. But with persistence, with strategic use of force, we have been able to bring the crime monster under some form of control. We're not quite there yet, but the strategy is working. And pay close attention to what I'm saying here. In the last 4 weeks, we have had several major seizures of weapons and other contraband coming into our formal ports, including, I was reading in the papers today that a resident of Manchester was arrested and charged. I want all the criminals in Manchester to hear my voice very, very clearly. You have no hiding place. All the people who are importing guns into Jamaica, whether you live here or cooperate with criminals abroad, you have no hiding place. I want that message to go out very carefully. Jamaica has invested heavily in building its national security apparatus. For many years, we have had an unsophisticated national security apparatus. We have invested in improving the sophistication of our security apparatus. And that sophistication is not only in the purchase of equipment, in the training of our officers, but also in building strong diplomatic country-to-country relationships that will help us to undermine the criminal networks that exist across borders. If criminal organizations can cooperate across borders, well, governments must cooperate even strongly across borders to bring them down, eradicate them, and eliminate them. And Jamaica is on a solid pathway, as you would have seen recently with various statements, to tackle those gangs who believe that for such a long time they had free space and free reign. No more of that in Jamaica.
Because them say me not drive around and say tax. But we never drive. One time we drive around and say tax from our election, you know. One time, and that was in 1998, September. But I know you love me like how Jesus loved the children. I know you love me that you not climb a tree naked for me. But I want you to love me and love the People's National Party the same way you love me and you love Michael Manley. I want you to love me like how you love Norman Washington Manley. I want you to love me like how you love Portia Simpson Miller. But why have that I love you? I have one plea for you though, because I know this everyone you know. Comrade Sophia, I talk to you and Comrade there. If I have to stay where I am, that I can't win the election. If you have to see me every day where I am, that I can't win the election. So I have to go to North Patrick. I have to go to the Mandeville division. I have to go to the Belfield division. Because I know the people in Riot that will not let me down. So I will come to you in due time. Just give me a little time that the people in the other divisions can know me. Because the other day, I went somewhere and they says, you running? She said, my name is Mitchell. And that's the only reason why I never vote for you. We have a plan. And the only one PNP win. And PNP name must win.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I've spent a long time here going through in details, because this year is a special year. It is a year of decision, and we don't want any mistakes. So we have to go through in detail the plan. We have to go through in detail the issues, so that everyone in this room is seized of the mission. You have the information, even if it is not consonant with your perspective, but at least I would have paid the respect of giving you my side of the facts. And all I can do is ask that you choose wisely, that you choose Jamaica. God bless you, and thank you.